right, Colonel Craig Roberts, best-selling author, police officer, Oklahoma City investigator, helicopter pilot, Marine Corps sniper. He's done a lot. And also retired out of the Army as a Army colonel in intelligence. I want to take calls quite a bit next hour and get into a host of other issues and get your take on ClimateGate. But first, I mean, from the perspective of this moving so fast, we knew that once they got their program in place, they were going to unveil it and launch it. We've been saying that forever, that when they emerged, it was going to start moving quicker. But it has amazed me as well that it's been so lightning speed. But a lot of analysts believe that's being done because there is so much resistance forming. There is a lot of positive things happening as well. But with the purposeful implosion of the economy, with all these attempts at forced flu inoculations, with all the preparation for new wars and terror attacks, what do you see in your crystal ball happening in the next 12 months?
Well, Alex, I think it'll be even less than that. I think we're within 6 months of a total financial collapse in this country. You've got the Chinese buying up all the gold they can, dumping the dollar. I've got contacts down in South America who are saying that no one wants to deal in the dollar anymore. They want to deal in the euro, and they want to deal in the Swiss franc and that sort of thing. They'll deal in gold and diamonds and commodities and things like that, but they don't want the American dollar anymore. It used to be the dollar was the main currency of the entire planet. You could go anywhere, and everybody wanted it. Now everybody's trying to get rid of it. Now, when that happens, when you got somebody like Obama, who's a communist Muslim, up in Washington, spending money as fast as it can be printed, just throwing it out the window with no tracking of it. I mean, this last stimulus package where they put out a gazillion dollars out there, no one knows where it really went because it didn't trickle down.
They won't say where it went on record.
No. And never got down to the people who, it was supposed to help. I mean, you had all these people losing their homes that wanted to refinance at a different interest rate at lower payments, and they would stay in their homes, and they could still do that, and the mortgage companies wouldn't budge on it. Instead, they went through foreclosures. You've got the unions who supported this guy because the unions are pretty much controlled by, communist and socialist anyway, and have been, since the beginning. You've got them who voted for this guy who are now losing, the members of those unions are losing their jobs right and left. You've got Chevrolet closing down plants all over the place. You've got Chrysler closing down plants. Saturn's gone away.
So what I'm getting from you, and I want you to elaborate on this, but I've never heard this from you, and I don't think it's a defeatist attitude, but I believe you're saying we've been overrun. Now you're saying batten down the hatches, get ready for basically the Red Terror?
I think where we're at right now is the next thing we could see could very easily be a terrorist or a series of terrorist events in this country. That there's two possible scenarios here, and you could probably even have both of them at the same time. One is a financial collapse, and the other is a terrorist event. It could be a biological, it could be a nuclear, some backpack nukes that they've smuggled across the Mexican border or brought in through, Canada or whatever. If they have anything at all, and they can blame, whether they blame it on the militias, like militias have a whole lot of Nike suits.
But you've never really talked like this. You're really seeing a convergence of things. You think they're about to jump to an even greater acceleration.
Well, I think the next stage, if I were them planning to, completely go to ordo de chaos, in other words, order out of chaos, and build up, their like a Phoenix program, I would have to start by destroying the people's ability to do anything except be dependent on me, the government. And to make them dependent on me, they got to be dependent on me for their financial situation, their food situation, their water situation, their ability to travel, and their ability to communicate.
All right, stay there. We got a break. Back in 1 minute. So they're going with the Lenin model, the Mao Zedong model, the Pol Pot model. I agree. Their own documents state they want us totally broke. What's the head of the octopus? It runs all the major religious extremist organizations. It runs all the major militaries, the intelligence bureaus, through compartmentalization. What is the master plan? What is the end game? Colonel Craig Roberts, our guest. Colonel.
Well, Alex, I brought this up, I think it was last year sometime. I found out about it about 5 years ago. When I wrote my book, Kill Zone, about the Kennedy assassination, I chased, who would benefit, who would profit, who had the capability of pulling it off, and then covered it up no matter who was in the White House until, 2029. Because that's when they said they would release whatever records they had. And I kept chasing, who would benefit, who, it met all that criteria up above the White House. Was there an entity above the White House that could actually control the entire country, no matter who was in office? Was there an entity that could control the monarchies of Europe? Did that entity exist? Did it, control things and events in Asia? Well, yes, I found that entity. And that entity, I thought I'd found him anyway, and it was up, I found out about the Council on Foreign Relations, the Royal Society for International Affairs, the Round Table Group, how they were linked to the Rothschild money that goes back to 1773. And I thought, well, boy, there it is right there. And I let my wife's cousin read the book, who had over 30 years in the CIA, and he said, you hit everything on this book right here. It's got everything in it. This is the way it happened. You left out a few things, though. And I said, like what? He says, well, on the Kennedy thing, yeah, he was going to shut down the Federal Reserve, but he was also going to do something else. And I said, what's that? And he said he was pulling this out of Southeast Asia, which included Laos and Cambodia and the Golden Triangle, which means that we were not going to have black funding for the CIA that goes back all the way to OSS Team 101 during World War II when they seized Indochina away from the Japanese. And after they kicked the French out, which we helped them do, helped the Vietnam do, then we ended up with a heroin trade. He said, we're talking billions of dollars of black funding that no one can account for. He says, and Kennedy was going to pull us out of that. So, then Allen Dulles, put the stop to that. Well, anyway, I thought, okay, fine. But where are you going with this? He said, well, you have to understand. He said, I've read all of this stuff that these people have written about the Committee of 300 and all this sort of thing. And he said, the Council of 30, or the Committee of 33. He says, but there's one at the very top, and it's called the Council of 13. And the Council of 13 controls the banks. They control all leaders of all countries. They control the communication systems. They control shipping. They control education, medicine, media, the whole bit. And he said, you have to understand that that's. And he said the members change all the time. He said at one time he was pretty sure that Henry Kissinger sat on that council and named a few others that I didn't know. But that's where it starts. And these people have one goal in mind, and that is a one world government, a one world currency, and they're in charge. It's just that simple. And it doesn't have to do with money. It has to do with power. It has to do with elitists saying, we're the boss, you're the workers, you do what we say, and we'll feed you and house you and take care of you.
And by the way, off the record, you've told me the name of this guy, and I looked him up. He was big, high-powered oil, high-level CIA that's in your family, we're not going to say who, that told you this.
Yeah, in fact, he was over here the day before yesterday, as a matter of fact, and he's 86 now. And he was down in working in Chile, Peru, Uruguay, was part of the Cuban operations and all of that.
Is he happy about what's happening? I mean,
oh, absolutely not. He's a super patriot, always has been, and all his friends were. He said that he was good friends with Colby, and Colby was a patriot when Colby was head of the CIA. He named a lot of people. He said, these guys, they really tried to fight for this country.
And they killed Colby, didn't they?
Well, somebody did. Yeah, that was set up to look as a stupid suicide, and it was so obviously a homicide, it was ridiculous. Or an accident. I guess it was a canoe accident or whatever it was supposed to have been.
Kayak.
Yeah, well, he said he went to the funeral, and he said somebody took him out. He was going to expose something, he wasn't sure what. Okay. Anyway,
stay there. Let's come back. Long segment coming up. Let's get into world government being only the beginning. What's the end game of world government? What are they going to do once they have it? And I want all the police and all the military and all the government people to listen. Everything we've talked about's come true so far. We're going directly to their own documents and statements. You need to understand. And as for the Committee of 13, that round table, I'll tell you about that.